Wait, sir.
I have shared it.
Yeah, it is visible.
Okay, I hope you can see my Word file.
Yeah.
All right. So the agenda of mine, which is going to keep you busy for 45 to 80 minutes, is fivefold. The first one is a visit schedule for the evaluation team of NBA, where I'm going to give you how the NBA team, which basically comes to your institute for inspection purpose, is going to spend time for roughly 2+ days, during which two important things in terms of presentation will happen. One, the presentation by head of the institute, and second one will be the presentation by head of the department. So I'll just highlight these two presentations in terms of what are all the points that head of the institute and head of the department has to keep in mind while framing the PowerPoint presentation, which the concerned competent authorities are going to present in front of the committee. Then I'm going to discuss about the Tier 2 evaluation guidelines, because it is extremely important for all of us to know that after putting so much of hard work, where is it that we might get more points? Where is it that we are likely to lose the points? So you should know the evaluation guidelines of the Tier 2 NBA visit. And the last one is how to basically start the NBA work in your department, or a brief about how we can kick off from here onwards, so that couple of years down the line, maybe 2 3 years down the line, every department should be accredited. So the visit schedule for evaluation team of NBA goes like this. you know uh, when is this that is going to arrive? When is it that we are going to see the light of the day? What is called as visit schedule for the evaluation team of NBA for UG engineering programs. Now, basically, what happens is, the process of NBA we have seen right from day one. Once you apply for the registration, and then you upload your pre-qualifier, and once pre-qualifier passes its initial step, the college will be asked to upload the so-called self-assessment report, that is SAR. And I've also briefed you the other day that once you upload the SAR, the software or the application will ask you five possible set of dates, and you give the dates as Friday, Saturday, Sunday of 5 consecutive weeks, and NBA will pick up one set of date, and it will communicate to the college authorities. So now what NBA does is it will constitute a team of experts to visit your college, and the experts will be purely based on the department which is going for accreditation, followed by one chairperson or chairman of the NBA visiting team. Say for example, if two departments goes for accreditation, the total number of committee members who are going to come in the visit team will be totally five. As I told earlier, one will be the chairperson and two experts for each department or each program, what we call it as program evaluators. So the nomenclature that is followed is the chairman will be called as team chairman, shortly abbreviated as TC, and two experts who are going to come, they will be called as program evaluators, who are shortly abbreviated as PE. Now, let us assume that the one of the Friday is going to be your NBA visit that is going to start Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So day zero means actually it is Thursday evening. Thursday evening, the committee members will arrive at a hotel, and there is going to be a sort of a discussion among the team members, that is chairman and program evaluators, all those who are coming as program evaluators, and they will have some sort of discussion, and they will finalize the schedule as to how they are going to conduct this particular inspection for next 2+ days. So then day one is nothing but your Friday. Okay, so this is your day one, that is Friday morning. So this is the schedule which the NBA will send us prior to the inspection, and it is also available in the website also. 8:45 around, the committee will arrive at the college. 9 to 9:20 there will be an introduction of the entire team, where the head of the institute, that is principal or director, will be there along with management representatives, the heads of the various departments, the program coordinators of various departments, and also deans, directors of various various bodies in your organization. Then from 9:20 to 10, principal's presentation about the institute. So head of the institute will be given 40 minutes time to present about the institute. And this presentation will take place in front of the entire team members, the committee members, and management or institution representatives, and also the heads of the department and program coordinators. Then from 10:15 to 12:30, what happens is the entire team gets separated into two. Chairman will visit the central facilities. He will visit the first year labs. He will meet first year faculties, then hostel, then library, sports. All these things will be visited by the honorable chairman of the NBA visiting team. Parallelly, what happens is the program evaluators, the expert members, will go to the department, and then they will go to the respective departments. So basically, it is the responsibility of the program coordinator and head of the department to escort the program evaluators to their respective department. And once they are in the department, there will be approximately 40 minutes presentation by head of the department, wherein the audience during head of the department's presentation will be two program evaluators and all the faculty members of that particular department. It is mandatory for all the faculty members to sit during HOD's presentation, which your HOD or head of the department will be doing in front of the program evaluators. Only thing is, the faculty members who are having academic schedule during HOD's presentation, that is roughly from 10:15 to 11. Academic schedule means if some faculties are having theory classes or some faculties are having laboratories, then those faculties are exempted from attempting this. They should continue their academic schedule. Please keep in mind that at any cost, academic schedule should not be disturbed. This is the prime requirement of the NBA committee team, right? Apart from that, all other faculties, it is mandatory to be present with the head of the department. Then after HOD's presentation, up to 12:30 p.m., head of the program evaluators or the experts will be in respective departments carrying out the inspection work, right? So during this time, they will be having a look at all the files criteria wise and then have an interaction with the faculty. It is not that all these things will happen in a span of 1.5 hours. That is from 11 to 12:30, correct? From 11 to 12:30 is one session where they will be inspecting, they will be checking, they'll be cross verifying all the documents. Need to panic, because please keep in mind that NBA committee is not a fault finding committee. I repeat, it is not a fault finding committee. As a matter of fact, it is a fact finding committee. Okay, so whatever you claim in pre-qualifier, whatever you claim in self-assessment report, that is what they are here to check. They are here to check the facts. That's all. Then from 12:30 to 1, the entire team will meet alone on their own, the committee chairman and the evaluators, and they will share some thoughts. And then from 1 to 2, there is going to be a working lunch in the college itself. Then from 2:15 to 4:30, again the team will break. The experts will again go back to their respective departments and spend time till 4:30. On the other hand, Chairman Sir will have a discussion with the competent authorities and study certain procedures of admission and various other things. He will also have a discussion with various committees that are formed at the college level, their functioning, their roles, their responsibilities, and how basically those committees are helping various stakeholders. And then from 4:30 to 5:30, a meeting of all these experts will take place in the college to review the day's work. Now, this is more or less the schedule that is followed by the NBA committee. There might be plus or minus small changes. Then moving to day 2, more or less the schedule will be same as that of day one, right? The committee will come to your campus by 9:30 a.m. in the morning. So it is mandatory that all the faculty members, all the students, all the various stakeholders are present in the college. And as I have told you earlier, during this 2+ day visit, your academic schedule should not hamper. So, say for example, if your college starts at 9 o'clock and you have a class from 9 to 10, you please go ahead with your academic classes or academic laboratories or whatever it is. Those 2 days, academic schedule should run as per the timetable only. And that is what the NBA committee is also going to check. Now, what happens is during second day, from 9:30 to 1, the experts will be in the respective departments, and also they will be there from 2 to 3:30. One of these timings, the experts will walk into a class which is going on. They will not tell in which class they will go. They will just walk in the class and they will just go and sit at the back and watch the faculty who is teaching in that particular class. So they will spend roughly around 7 to 8 minutes, or sometimes it goes to 10 minutes also. They will observe the classroom teaching, they will observe the students' behavior, and apart from that, they will also check whether the classes are running as per the timetable. So it is very, very important that you follow the academic schedule as per your timetable. Please do not deviate it. Except if program coordinator is having a class, only he or she can alter the class by taking prior permission from head of the department, because program coordinator needs to be there the throughout with the committee members. And post lunch, chairman will meet the alumni, the parents, and the employers. And also from 3:30 to 4, there is going to be a common faculty meet with the committee members. So this will basically happen in the institute's auditorium, where all the faculty members of all the departments will be asked to assemble, and chairman and program evaluators of all the department. That means the entire NBA committee will talk to all the faculty members in common in the institute auditorium. Now, when this particular faculty meeting takes place, this is exclusively for faculty members. Nobody else will be present. Now, when I say nobody else will be present, it means head of the department will not be there. Institute head, that is principal, or we call it as a director, irrespective of what we call, that he is also not there. And apart from that, the management representatives will also not be there. So this is one-on-one, one is to many, I can say. The NBA committee team along with faculty members, that is going to be the meet. Then the faculty members will come out of the auditorium. The committee members will be inside the auditorium only. And then the students community will go and talk to the committee members. So from 4 to 4:30, there will be a meeting of NBA committee members with the students. So once all these things is done, they will sit from 4:35 p.m. onwards, and they will start report writing, and then the committee members will depart to their place of stay. So by and large, what happens of late, within 2 days, the entire inspection gets over. Suppose by chance anything is left out, then that will happen on day 3 morning. Now, suppose if the committee members or the program evaluators are convinced, they feel that there is nothing else to be inspected, then day 3 will start something like this at 11 a.m. So the timings is basically from 11 a.m. to 11:45, but it also can change. It can be earlier as well. So that will be communicated to the head of the institute when the committee people leave or depart to their place of stay at the end of day 2. So the schedule on the third day is there is going to be an exit meeting that takes place, right? And during exit meeting, the people who are going to be a part of the exit meeting are the same set of people who were the morning of day 1, when there was an introductory session and there was a presentation by head of the institute. So during the exit meeting, the NBA committee members will be there, the head of the institute, the management representatives, head of the departments, and program coordinators. And apart from this, if head of the institute wants to invite one or two senior professors of your college, even they can also be a part of the exit meeting. Now, in this exit meeting, the chairman and the program evaluators of various departments, they are going to present the exit comments. So they are just going to give some comments about their, their observations and their, whatever they have seen in terms of documents and all. They are going to give exit comment during this particular time. And then also there is one more thing that NBA does, which is very, very, very appreciated, is the after hearing the comments made by the chairman and the program evaluators, right? They will give an option for the institute whether they should be still considered for accreditation or they want to withdraw the accreditation. And if the head of the institute wants to withdraw the accreditation, the withdrawal of the accreditation can be done even program wise, right? It is not necessary that all the programs accreditation should be withdrawn, but it should be given in writing that we are going to withdraw the accreditation process for this particular program. In which case what happens? It becomes null and void. Everything becomes null and void. Otherwise, the committee members will conclude the visit at 12 o'clock and they will proceed out of the campus, and then they will, then they will take care on their own, right? But my personal suggestion is when you have put lots of efforts, lot of hard work has gone towards NBA accreditation for almost 1 year or 1.5 years minimum, then there is absolutely no point in going for withdrawal of the accreditation. Personally, if you ask me, I'm dead against of going for withdrawal for accreditation. On the other hand, my suggestion is, if you are not very confident enough, that's what I told you earlier, spend around, do not apply, do not fill the pre-qualifier and then start working for NBA, right? It is going to be a very tough task. Instead, start working for NBA, and when you feel that you are 85 to 90% comfortable, then you can fill the pre-qualifier, then you can get it approved, then you can fill the what is that, SAR, self-assessment report, and then you can go for NBA accreditation. So this is how basically the visit schedule of the NBA committee takes place during those roughly 2+ days. So 2 full days the committee will spend with all of you in the campus, and the first 2 days, unless and until the committee members do not leave the campus, it is mandatory for everybody to stay in the campus, including the faculty members, the non-teaching staff, everybody stay in the campus. Now, as I told you that after the introductory session, there is going to be a presentation by head of the institute. Now, when this presentation is going to take place, both head of the institute and head of the department have to keep certain things in mind, out of which very important is they will be given roughly 40 minutes time for presentation. The committee members will not appreciate if it goes too much beyond 40 minutes. And NBA has also given a template in terms of the presentation, which I am going to show you in here. The first slide of the head of the institute's presentation, that is presentation from the principal or director, is promoters, that is 1 slide. Institution details, if applicable, 1 slide. The institute recognitions in terms of the overall recognition of the institute, the faculty recognitions and the student recognitions can be dumped in 3 slides. Faculty-centric policies and utilization, 2 slides. Similarly, student-centric policies, 2 slides. Quality assurance, then curriculum, teaching, learning process, which is very, very important, along with faculty information and contribution, which should be as per the self-assessment report. So this curriculum and teaching can be 5 slides. The faculty contribution can be 6. Students' performance, again, what you have written in self-assessment report, that is at the institute level as well as at the program level. That should not exceed 6 slides. Facilities and technical support, which is criteria 6, that is 2 slides. Governance, institutional support and financial resources, that is criteria 10, 5 slides. And vision, mission, program, educational objectives, formulation and attainment, which is a combination of criteria 1, 3 and 7, that should be 5 slides. So put together, the total number of slides for institute heads presentation is 40, right? But at the same time, there is little bit flexibility given by NBA for presentation, and you can ensure that you don't go too much beyond 40 slides. You can add one or two slides, or you can add one or sorry, you can delete one or two slides. But upper limit, maximum permissible slides are only 45. Now, from presentation, when the committee bifurcates and goes to the department, as I told, the program evaluators should be escorted by the program coordinator and head of the department, or even if one senior professor is also there, that is also no problem. The head of the department presentation will be again approximately for 40 minutes. Department in terms of when the department started, what is the strength of the faculty members, what is the strength of the students in terms of intake and all, can be one slide. The department achievements in terms of faculties and students can be 3 slides, and for various criterias, correct? By this time, you all are aware that NBA totally has got 10 criterias, out of which the first 7 criterias are at the program level, and the remaining 3 criterias are at the institute level, that is criteria 8, 9, 10. So each of these 7 criteria, which comes at the program level, NBA has given the tentative number of slides, right? For criteria 1, it is 2 slides. Then you have 3. You see criteria 3 has got 8 slides, and criteria 5 also has got 8 slides. That's what I was telling you in the on the Friday session, that program outcome and course outcome is the crux of the entire outcome based education. So criteria 3 has got 8 slides. Students performance, which is criteria 4, 7 slides. Then you have 8 for criteria 5, 2 for criteria 6, and continuous improvement, which is criteria 7, you have totally 6 slides. So on these grounds only, head of the institute should prepare these slides. And once you prepare the slides, please go through the slides. You can have a dry run in front of all the faculty members of your department, and then ensure that the slides, the PowerPoint presentation is made very, very professional, because this is the first impact that the program evaluators are going to get when they come to your department. And then once the presentation is over, then the program evaluators are going to spend time in the department checking all the documents pertaining to various criteria. They're also going to have one-on-one discussion with all the faculty members. And when one-on-one discussion is happening with the faculty members are supposed to be present in front of the committee members along with their course file and personal file, because you are going to produce the document or data for 3 years, correct? Data for 3 years is going to be furnished along with documentary evidence. So it is mandatory for all the faculty members to have their 3 years course file ready with them when they face the NBA committee members. Any course from any semester, from any academic year, that can be asked by the committee members. So if you are working in that particular department from more than 3 years, right, then it is mandatory for you to have the course file of all the subjects that you have taught in those 3 years. Okay, so before I venture into my next agenda of evaluation guidelines, you have any doubts, you can please ask me.
So during head's presentation,
Yeah.
course files of head of department is mandatory, or course files of all the faculties is mandatory in that room?
No. See, basically what happens is you are going to arrange for the inspection in one of the room of your department. So basically what you should do is one day before, you should ensure all the documents are there in that particular room along with the course file and personal file. And the moment heads of the department's presentation is over, when the document verification takes place from the program evaluator, you should not take more time to get the document. Since it is available in the same room, right, you can have one person who will coordinate with you, and he or she will remove the document whichever the program evaluation committee is asking. So all course files should be there in that particular room only.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Basically, what you should not do is, let me tell you what the committee do not appreciate is, they ask for a particular document and you spend more time in getting that document. तो उनको ऐसा एक एहसास हो जाता है कि आप लोगों ने डॉक्यूमेंट बनाया नहीं है.
Okay.
Yeah, so don't spend more time in getting the document. You cannot say that it is there in my room which is in 4th floor and you are in ground floor and I will get it. That they will not appreciate.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, no problem. Any other question, please? Okay, all right. I will change my Word file and I will go to the another file. Just give me 2 seconds. All right. Can you see my slide which says evaluation guidelines SAR Tier 2?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So now this is very important for every one of us. As I told in the initial session that the total marks or the total points, which out of which 780 points is in your hands. 780 points is for the department, for the program. That is from criteria 1 to criteria 7. I mean to say criteria 1 to criteria 7 totally constitutes 780 points. So it will totally be up to 1000 points. Now for your program, right, if you want to say that, Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Buddha Institute of Technology is NBA accredited, then you should score minimum 600 points out of 1000. This is very, very important. Please keep in mind. There are only 2 cases. Either you are accredited or you are not accredited. That's it. And if you are accredited, then whether you are 3 years accredited or you are 6 years accredited. If you score 600 and above, you are 3 years accredited. If you score 750 and above, which is not an easy task, then you are 6 years accredited. Believe me, there are cases where I have seen the department has scored 627 points, but they are still not accredited because of certain parameters. It is basically an AND operator which will make your department as a accredited department. So let us go slowly and try to understand what all things I need to do which is going to fetch me marks. So how this 780 points is distributed in different criteria which are related to program. Now criteria 1 is vision, mission and program educational objectives. This constitutes totally 60 points. And this criteria 1 has got 5 sub criteria, which you can see here. The one which I'm selecting, criteria 1 has got 5 sub criteria, and the total marks for these sub criteria are here in the second column. Right now, the marks, how they are actually distributed, you will get it in the evaluation guidelines. So guidelines in mind, you have to keep the so-called exhibits that the committee is going to observe. What is these exhibits? They are nothing but the documentary evidence. And without documentary evidence, believe me, gentlemen, nothing is going to move forward in your NBA visit. Okay. Now, you have seen all the criteria from past 4 days, right? Now, the availability of the vision and mission statement of the department, which will carry 1 mark. That means you should have the mission statement of your department along with PSOs and the PEOs displayed in prominent places in the head of the department's chamber. It should be displayed in all the faculty chambers. It should be displayed in the classroom. It should be displayed on the corridor. It should be displayed in the even the laboratories also. So these are the prominent places where the vision and mission statement of your department should be displayed. And if they find it, then you will easily get 1 mark. So there are certain criterias where, sub criterias where you can easily get marks. Absolutely, there's no problem. Then appropriate relevance of the statement and consistency of the department statements with the institute statement is 2 marks. So basically, the flow in OBE is, once you prepare the institute's vision and mission, you have to keep that vision and mission of the institute in mind, and then you prepare the department vision and mission. Then the program educational objectives, you need to draft 3 to 5 PEOs, which will carry 5 marks. And then indicate where and how the vision mission are published and disseminated. Now please understand, these 2 words are very important. I have seen quite good number of times faculty members getting confused with this word called as publish and disseminate, right? Now what do you mean by publish? The vision, mission, the POs, PSOs, they should be published, means they should be available in the form of black and white, correct? Just now I said these things should be available in HOD's chamber, in the faculty chamber. It should be also available on your website. It is very, very important. It should be available in your website. And at the same time, it should be also available in all places where you are projecting your department. Say, for example, you are conducting an international conference, correct? In the brochure of that international conference, your department's vision and mission should be printed, right? You are conducting a technical fest. In that documentary evidence also, vision and mission should be printed. This is called as publishing. Now, what do you mean by dissemination? Dissemination is nothing but the oral way of telling the things. Now, when do you tell it orally, right? Say, for example, whenever I go to a class, the very first day, if you recollect my last session, I told that the very first day I spent some time in briefing my students about outcome-based education. So what I do in that is, apart from telling the course outcome, program outcomes, and all those things, I will also tell them the vision and mission of the department. So I'm telling the vision and mission of the department orally to my students. This is called as dissemination, right? Whenever you start a meeting, believe me, when head of the department starts a meeting, the first thing that he is going to tell in the meeting is the vision and mission of the department. It does not matter even if you read the vision and mission, it's okay, as long as you tell orally. So you can always claim that one of the process in your department is every departmental meeting starts with head of the department disseminating the vision, mission of the department, right? So this is what is called as dissemination and publishing. Then apart from that, the process involved in defining the description, involved in defining the POs, the preparation of the matrix, that is the correlation matrix of program educational objectives and mission statements, and how do you justify it? All these things put together carries 60 marks in criteria 1, right? You should be able to target as much marks as possible in this, because I'm also going to show you some sub criteria where, right, the marks are not in your hands. The marks are totally based on the formula. Okay, so the values are substituted, and the formula, whatever it gives, it lands up getting you the marks. So you have to be extremely careful and try to secure more and more marks in those places where formula is not available. Of course, description of the process involved, you need to involve external stakeholders like alumni, industry people, academicians, senior professors from other colleges. They should be a part of your committee, which I'm going to tell you afterwards, right? So you should have a discussion and deliberation with these people, and then get approved your vision and mission and program educational objectives of your program. Then coming to criteria 2, which is program, curriculum, and teaching learning process, it has got 120 points, and it has got two sub-criterias. 2.1, that is called as program curriculum, which is 20 marks, and teaching learning process, which is 100 marks. So you have to be very, very careful. 2.2 carries tremendous points in your MBA, right? So what is program curriculum? Process used to identify the compliance of the university in terms of POs and PSOs, and also you need to identify the curricular gaps for the attainment, right? And what are the steps you have taken to identify these curricular gaps, and did you intimate these curricular gaps to the university? Correct. Now, say for example, there is a subject called as Unix operating system, and most of the universities in our country do not teach system administration in that particular course. So in fact, this time I had identified that as a gap, and then you land up writing a letter to the university that this is the gap that I have found as a professor in this particular syllabus. And then what you do is, since you have identified the gap, correct, and since you are affiliated to a university, it is not so easy to change the curriculum or update the curriculum, correct? In most of the universities, the curriculum is updated once in 4 years. So what you can do as a teacher in that subject is you can deliver the details beyond the syllabus. So if you identify certain gap in your subject, correct, you do the formalities, but at the same time you see that that particular gap is filled by you, and the necessary knowledge, the necessary information is given to the students. That will definitely give you very good marks. And mapping of content beyond syllabus. So if you are doing anything beyond syllabus to the students, you have to map it to your relevant POs and PSOs. Now, looking at teaching learning process, which is, hooping 100 points actually. Describe the process followed to improve the quality of teaching learning. It will carry 25 marks. So these are the things. Adherence to the academic calendar, use of various instructional methods, conduct of experiments, continuous assessment in the laboratory, all these are marks. So the first thing in teaching learning process is, do you have academic calendar? So you need to have academic calendar of the university, you need to have academic calendar of the institute, and you need to have academic calendar of your department also. Then apart from that, there are so many other stuffs. Then the quality of internal semester question papers, assignment and evaluation. I think I have highlighted this in criteria 3 when I was speaking about the course outcomes, assessment and attainment, correct? And I clearly told that in your internal question papers, no question should be mapped to multiple COs. And what is the process for your question paper setting in the department, right? And then are you trying to map all the questions to your COs, the evidence of the COs coverage in the class test, right? Now let us say you conduct 3 class tests, whether all the drafted 5 to 6 COs of your subject, whether it is covered in all the class tests or not, that is very, very important. So to find out whether it is done or not, what the expert committee member will do is they will ask you to get the internal test question paper, and they will compare that with your COs, they'll compare with your syllabus, and they will cross verify it, right? So please understand, documentary evidence is very, very important from the NBA accreditation point of view, because it is the document that speaks. That's all. Whatever you tell orally has got no meaning. I'm repeating once again, whatever you tell orally, it has got no meaning. You tell orally, but you have to substantiate with sufficient documentary evidence. And then quality of the students project, which has got 25 marks. So once you identify the students batch and the project, you have to map the projects to specific POs of NBA and PSOs of your department, which is very important. The projects done by the students in the final year, or probably even in earlier semesters also, you basically don't map to any COs. You have to map the projects to POs only.
Sir, your voice not coming. You are muted.
Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. So now moving on to criteria 3. Again, it has 120 points and it is divided into 3 components. Establishing the correlation between courses and POs is 20 points. That means you have to draft the course outcome of all the courses which is taught in your program for 3 years, right? So it is not an easy task. And then you have to prepare the COPO matrix and you have to explain why you have given that correlation level as 1, 2, and 3, which we had discussed in the earlier session. So if you can justify all this, and this has to be justified by every individual faculty for their respective course. So easily you can get 20 points in this. And if you follow the attainment procedure, let me tell you very honestly, out of 120 points for course outcome and program outcome of criteria 3, you should be able to get anything between 105 to 110. राइट 105 110 पॉइंट लेने में कोई दिक्कत नहीं है साहब. आई एम टेलिंग यू वेरी हॉनेस्टली बिकॉज इट इज टोटली इन योर हैंड्स and they are not telling that why you did not get 90% attainment, why you did not get 95% attainment. They are not interested in that. What they are interested is, if you have set the target, if you have done the assessment and you have calculated the attainment, then it is more than sufficient. Whether you have achieved the attainment for a particular course outcome or not is immaterial, right? They will only check whether the process is in place with respect to criteria 3, and then verify the attainment level as per the benchmark set. That means you have set a target for 65%. They will verify whether you have achieved or not. That's all. They are not going to cut the marks. They are not going to cut the points if you have not achieved it. Please understand, right? So if the process is in place, then criteria 3 is a very, very easy going process according to me. And then 3.3, you have attainment of POs and PSOs. So here it is the attainment of COs and all, and then 50 marks is for attainment of POs and PSOs, where again you have to give the relevance of the assessment tool. You should give the document verification in terms of results and the level of attainment for each PO and PSO. This you will get it from your course files. And then you also have to tell what is the overall level of attainment for all the POs which are there in your NBA. The criteria 4, which is 150. Now which is something very important, criteria 4 and 5, because some places in criteria 4 and 5 is purely based on the formula. That's what I said. There is no sub criteria in the first 3 criteria where there is a formula. So it all depends upon how you justify what you are doing and what you have claimed in your SAR. But look at criteria 4, the very first point, which is enrollment ratio. Correct? Now, if 85% of the students have joined your institute in the first year, correct? If 85% of the students have joined, then you will get 18 points out of 20. This is 18, that the one I am going to highlight you in red color. That is the points that you are going to get out of 20. So nothing can be done here, because again it is justification, right? They will get the admission details from the central office. They will check how many students have joined your program in this year. And if 80% students have joined in this particular year with respect to the total intake that is sanctioned to your department by the affiliated university, then you will get only 18 points. And suppose if the number of students taking admission in your department is less than 60%, then you will get 0 marks. So please understand, totally this marks is formula based. Then success ratio, which was dealt by one of my colleague in criteria 4 yesterday. So success ratio without backlogs in any semester, you will get 25 points. With backlogs in any semester, you will get 15 points. Then academic performance in the second year, it has 15 points. Academic performance in the second year is 15 points. So they take the academic performance of second year and third year. Somehow they don't take academic performance of the first year and the final year for the calculation purpose. So you have this. So for this 30 points, you should ensure that you have the results of all the students in terms of pass and fail percentage for all the 3 years for which you are furnishing the data to the NBA committee. And then placement, higher studies and all, it has got 40 points. Professional activities, it has got 20 points. And professional activities is not restricted to only faculty members. Please encourage your students to be a part of professional activities. They can be members of various professional societies. In fact, the Department of Computer Science can ask their students to be a student member of Computer Society of India. Since we are all under AICTE, it is good, and I feel it should be mandatory for all of us to be a member of Indian Society for Technical Education. Please motivate your students to do some sort of participate in some sort of events within the state and outside the state. Please do not tell that you have participated in an event which was conducted by Department of Computer Science of your own college. It has got no meaning, and no importance will be given if your participation is within your own college, right? It should be outside the college, it should be outside the state. And if you have participated outside, if you have won any prizes or awards, then that will also fetch you some points actually. So it is very, very important. And please look at this last participation row, right? 10 points are there. Even if your student participates, right, outside your college within Uttar Pradesh, and some of your students participate outside Uttar Pradesh, you still get 5 points out of 10, right? And participation is more important. Suppose if students do not win any prizes, don't worry about it, right? You still get 5 points. So motivate your students. And it is not that this much percentage of students should go and participate, correct? So there's no hardbound rule. But yes, if sufficient number of students go, at least 10 to 12 students from your department go and participate in various activities outside the state, then it is worth to get your documentary evidence proof in criteria 4. Moving to criteria 5. This is very, very important criteria for NBA accreditation. Even if all documents are good, all documents are correct, if you fail in criteria 5, you will not get accreditation. Please understand. In the beginning, I said it is an AND operator. So criteria 5 is that AND operator. So if you want 3 years accreditation, right? So when do you get 3 years accreditation? You will get 3 years accreditation provided your overall score out of 1000 is minimum 600 and minimum 80 out of 200 in criteria 5. That is 40%. You should score minimum of 40% in criteria 5. That is 40% of 200 is 80. So out of 200, you should score minimum 80. Only then you are eligible to get accreditation. Now say for example, if your overall score is 610 and your criteria 5 score is 75, you will not get accredited. Another case study. If your criteria 5 score is 110 and your overall score is 590, you will still not get accreditation. So please be careful, right? I have come across a college whose score was more than 600, but they did not get required marks in criteria 5 and hence they did not get accredited, right? So, you feel really bad after putting lot of efforts. So what are the sub criteria which makes criteria 5 so important in your NBA visit? The first and the foremost thing is student faculty ratio, right? And NBA, correct, even though AICT says that the student faculty ratio should be 1:20, for NBA, the faculty ratio can be anything from 1:15 to 1:25. So even if your student faculty ratio is more than 1:20, you still can get NBA accredited, right? And the distribution of the marks is given. If your student faculty ratio is less than or equal to 1:15, then you will get 20 marks. If it is less than or equal to 21, you will get 14 marks. But also see, if your student faculty ratio exceeds 25, then you will get 0 marks, right? So they are all formula based. Most of the things in criteria 5, they are formula based. So nothing can be done. So you have to show documentary evidence of all the faculty members who are in your department, their service registers, their pay slips, their bank account, all these things should be produced to them. They will definitely ask for the documentary evidence in terms of whether they are really working in your department from past 3 years. Okay. And do not try to give wrong information. Whatever is there, you just show it to them. Next, faculty cadre proportion. This is in terms of the number of professors, associate professors, assistant professors you have, and it should follow AICT nomenclature only. Faculty qualification. Again, this faculty cadre and qualification is as per the AICT rules only. So there's nothing specific from NBA point of view, right? For every intake, you should know the ratio of cadre. That is how many professors, how many associate professors, how many assistant professors should be there in your department. And also whether your associate professors are PhD qualified or not. That is also very, very important. Faculty retention. How many faculties are staying in your department? That is called as faculty retention. So if 90% of the required faculties are retained, right, then you will get 25 points, right? If 75% are retained, then you will get 20 points, right? So this is purely calculated from the faculty availability point of view. For any faculty to be considered for your accreditation period, the faculty should have joined your department before August of a particular academic year, and he or she should have served your department till April of the next academic year. Only then that particular faculty will be considered as a faculty member of your department, and obviously it is common sense, he or she will also be considered towards your student faculty ratio. Anybody joining after August or leaving the department before April will not be considered as a part of your faculty for NBA purpose. So the first 4 criteria are formula based, so you have to be extremely careful with this. Then innovations by the faculties in terms of teaching and learning, 20 points. So all the innovation work that the faculty does, it should be made available on the institute website, which is very, very important. Anything that you do, you please put it onto the institute website in your department homepage. You can, and that work should be available for criticism by other teachers or other professors or peer review, what we call it as, from outside colleges. Correct? So that you should keep it as a documentary evidence which can show the type of innovations done by you people as a teacher or as a faculty member of that particular department. Then faculty as participations in faculty development training activities or short-term training program. It's very, very important actually. So whatever the FDP you people are attending now, it is a 5 days FDP program. Definitely this particular FDP will help you to get points in 5.6, right? So that is also a formula. What the committee will do is they will consider all the faculty members' participation in various seminars, workshops, faculty development programs, and then they will sum it up and then they will calculate the marks. But if the marks goes beyond 15, the maximum marks limited to this particular 5.6 criteria is only 15. So you will not get more than 15 marks. So it is better to encourage more and more faculty members to attend FDPs, right, during your academic semester or academic year. If you ask me personally, right, it is good. See, I'm not only telling from the NBA point of view. Definitely from NBA point of view, you will get points here. But then these type of faculty development program, there are advantages in two ways. First, first and the foremost advantage is you will expand your domain knowledge. Your domain knowledge gets increased. Absolutely, faculty development program never goes waste as far as my experience is concerned. And second thing is your network goes beyond what is there today. You will meet various sectors of people in your own higher education field. You can exchange views with them, you can have a discussion with them. Whatever, whatever you are not aware, you can ask them and get your doubts clarified. Whatever they are not aware, they will ask from you and they will get their doubts clarified. And this is how you land up growing your network. And I always keep telling that it is very, very important for you to increase your brand value. See, it is quite possible. Majority of the people know you in your department and in your college. Outside your college, how many people knows? That is what is called as brand value, right? So try to do all these things which will fetch you more marks in 5.5 and 5.6 and also in 5.7, correct? Research and development, right? All the PhD holders should extensively participate in research and development. They can take help of people who are doing PhD. They should motivate assistant professors to join for PhD, right? They should write proposals. They should get sponsored research projects. They should get consultancies from industries. They should also involve themselves in various developmental activities like laboratories setup or instructional materials and so on. So all R&D activities of your department will put together fetch 30 marks. And have a look at it. Not only completing PhD is important, but PhD holders, how many scholars, how many faculty members you are guiding towards their PhD. That also matters, right? Now, say for example, if your department has got 4 PhD holders and they are not guiding any faculty members, then you will straight away lose 4 marks in 5.7.1. Straight away you will lose. They will not give you any marks, right? So please step forward from where you are today, right? To ensure that you grow much, much better than today in your professional field. Then faculty performance appraisal, which is 5.8, that carries 30 marks. Whether you have the appraisal system in your department and what is the frequency of taking appraisal and what is the outcome of that particular appraisal, right? Any faculty who is doing consistently good, how you are motivating that faculty. And if a faculty is consistently doing bad, right, he is getting his feedback very, very poor, what are necessary actions that have been taken against that particular faculty. Then you have visiting professor concept also in NBA. Suppose if there is a provision of visiting professor, you will get 1 mark, and that particular professor should spend 50 hours per year. Interaction, you will get 3 to 3, 9 marks. Okay, so this also will fetch you certain points in your NBA. So totally, to sum up, criteria 5 has got 200 points, out of which minimum you should score 8.0. Then the remaining criteria are self-explanatory. I'll just go through it. Criteria 6, facilities and technical support, has got 80 points. So they will look at whether you have laboratories which are well equipped to run all the programs. Do you have sufficient technical staff to support? And what are the qualifications of those technical staff? And apart from this, did the department create any additional facilities for betterment of faculty members and students beyond academic curriculum? And if it is so, what is their relevance to various program outcomes and program specific outcomes? And apart from this, they will also ask for utilization document in terms of the laboratories which are available in your department, to what extent it is utilized, and also safety measures in your lab. Whether you have first aid kit, do you have fire extinguisher, and if there is a fire extinguisher, what date it was installed, whether there is a expiry date. Then all the medicines which is there in your first aid box, what is their expiry date? All these things are going to be checked when they visit the laboratories physically. Criteria 7, as I told earlier, is an extension of criteria 3. So if you do your criteria 3 better in a good fashion, believe me, you don't need to work for criteria 7. Criteria 7 is a cakewalk. And hence, criteria 7 totally depends on criteria 3, right? So if your criteria 3 is good, believe me, you will get very good marks in criteria 7. You just need to justify and with documentary evidence what you are doing. So there is an action taken based on your performance of PO and PSO, whether your department follows academic audit, and if it follows academic audit, how frequently the academic audit is conducted in your department, and what are the remedial measures taken as outcome of those audits. Then improvement in placement, higher studies and entrepreneurship of your department. How many students who are graduating, how many of them have been placed, how many of them have gone for higher studies, and how many of them have come up with their own entrepreneurship. Now, when you talk about placement, we are talking about only online campus recruitment, no offline. And when you talk about higher studies, it can be higher studies beyond graduation, right? Means it is not necessary that a BTech guy should go into MTech. Even if he goes and joins MBA, that is also higher studies. He can do any master's course or program in India or abroad, that is also called as higher studies. So the total marks for these three components, that is placement, higher studies and entrepreneurship, is 10 points. And improvement in the quality of the students admitted. Now this is very, very important, because this is the assessment that is based on the people, the students who are joining your course, right? And basically it is done with the help of the state entrance examination test, and also they keep in mind the performance of the students in physics, chemistry and mathematics in the qualifying examination, that is 12th standard, right? So the last year, what was the first cutoff rank with respect to the student who joined your college, and this year what is the cutoff rank of the first student who joined your program this year? Okay, so just for an example, if last year the first student who joined computer science department of your college, his rank is, let us say, 21,000, and this year the first student who joined your college, his rank is 18,000, then definitely it shows improvement in the quality of the students admitted in the program. Sorry. Apart from that, let us say the last year average PCM marks was 87%, and this time the average PCM marks is 89%. That is also improvement in the quality of students admitted, correct? So they will basically look into the average performance, and you'll end up getting some points out of 10, right? So continuous improvement carries totally 50 points. So you have to be extremely careful with all these 7 criteria, because they are in your hands, correct? And anywhere, out of 780, if you get anything above 500 out of 780, then I am sure, right, you will get the remaining marks from 220, which is part and parcel of criteria 8, 9 and 10. And put together both, you should definitely cross 600. And once you do it, I don't think anybody on this earth will stop you from getting NBA accreditation. So this I'll just quickly go through it. First year academics is 50 points. The total faculty student ratio of first year, the qualification of the faculties who are teaching first year courses, then academic performance of the students in first year. Then also look at this, you need to have the course outcomes and program outcomes, the assessment, the attainment, whatever I have told you in that session, that holds good for each and every subject of the first year course, right? So that will carry totally 50 marks. Then criteria 9 is student support system, which was well articulated in criteria 4, that is mentoring system. So whether a proper mentoring system is in place, to what extent the mentoring system helps the student, whether you are providing any sort of facilities in terms of feedback collection, is there any scope for learning, are you motivating students to join some sort of online courses like MOOC or NPTEL or Coursera or Udemy or whatever it is, right? Are faculty members guiding the students in terms of career guidance, correct? Are you guiding them in terms of where and what all type of higher education you can join, the type of institutes you can look for doing higher education, right? Counseling for higher studies in terms of competitive exams like GATE, GRE, and so on. Are you helping students for placement process? If yes, what are you doing? All this documentary evidence plays a very, very vital role for student support system. And apart from that, do you have any sort of extra activities available in your campus in terms of sports facilities, NCC, NSS, and various other clubs, which will definitely give student an edge over his academics? And the last criteria is governance, institutional support, and financial resources. Now, this is basically not in the hands of the department. So most of this is basically taken care by head of the institute and the management, right? So this will totally carry 120 points. So you have organization, governance, and transparency. Then you have budget allocation, the utilization of the budget at the institute level and also at the department level. And also the facilities with respect to library and internet, right? So whether you have well equipped and furnished library, do you have sufficient number of titles and volumes? And when you talk about the sufficient number of titles and volumes in your library, it should satisfy the AICTE norms of titles and volumes. And also it should satisfy the AICTE norms of the IT infrastructure in terms of the number of systems to be available in the laboratory, the number of printers available in the laboratory, the number of scanners, available bandwidth, the Wi-Fi availability, all these things should be as per the AICTE norms, right? So library and internet, if it is in place, I don't think you will have any chance of losing any marks here. You should be able to get entire 20. So criteria 10 carries 120 marks. Okay, so this is how the evaluation guidelines for tier 2 typically takes place when the NBA team actually visits your campus. So before I move on to the last point, which will take approximately 4 to 5 minutes, if you have any doubt in the evaluation guidelines, please go ahead in asking me.
गुड मॉर्निंग सर। एक छोटा सा डाउट।
हाँ बिल्कुल पूछिए सर।
ये जो 7.4 में आपने बताया जो हमारे बच्चे एडमिटेड होते हैं सर,
हाँ
तो
सर।
इस मोड ऑफ एडमिशन एक तो काउंसलिंग का 15% मैनेजमेंट रहता है। हाँ। और सर सुपर न्यूमेरिक सीट्स भी होती हैं, फी वेवर की सीट्स भी रहती हैं। तो जब हम सर काउंसलिंग में ओपन रैंक कंसीडर करेंगे तो अगर फी वेवर बच्चे की भी रैंक उसमें मानेंगे कि जो हमारे पास सर बच्चा आया है मतलब इनटेक के अगेंस्ट में उसकी रैंक कंसीडर करेंगे?
आप उसका रैंक कंसीडर करिए सर।
फी वेवर
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल, क्योंकि आप फी वेवर इसलिए दे रहे हैं क्योंकि वो स्टूडेंट बहुत अच्छा है
सर,
तो फिर व्हाई यू वांट टू मिस दिस अपॉर्चुनिटी?
ओके सर, करेक्ट। बट सुपर न्यूमेरिक सीट सर, सुपर न्यूमेरिक सीट है सर इनटेक के अगेंस्ट, तो
चलेगा ना, वो भी चलेगा, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं।
अच्छा।
और अगर वैसा आपको थोड़ा दिक्कत है तो आप एक काम कर लीजिए, सुपर SNQ कोटा का अलग बता दीजिए और जनरल मेरिट का अलग बता दीजिए, कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता है।
नहीं, अगर सर जनरल में ही दिखा दे तो कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है सर?
नहीं, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं।
अच्छा, एक चीज और थी सर, ये जो आपने बताया कि जो आपके पास स्टफ आ रहा है एट द बीटेक फर्स्ट ईयर में 12th लेवल के हम लोग क्वालिफाइंग में PCM के मार्क्स की परसेंटेज लेंगे। हाँ। ये सर काउंसलिंग के बच्चों का भी रहेगा कि जो मैनेजमेंट या वैकेंसीज जो होती हैं, वैकेंट सीट्स हो जाती हैं, हाँ, उनको हम लोग फिलअप करते हैं तो उनके लिए भी ये सर अप्लीकेबल रहेगा?
नहीं सर, होता क्या है मैं आपको बताता हूँ कि ये पूरे कमिटी पे निर्भर होता है। करेक्ट। तो आपको क्या करना चाहिए कि जैसे आपका काउंसलिंग के स्टूडेंट्स है, फिर मैनेजमेंट के स्टूडेंट्स है, तो आप दोनों को सेपरेट करके रख लीजिए। करेक्ट। अगर वो बोले कि मुझे ऐसा नहीं चाहिए, मुझे पूरा कंबाइन करके बता दो, तो उसके लिए 5 मिनट में एक नया डॉक्यूमेंट बना के बता सकते हो उसके लिए। तो होता क्या है कि अगर आपका काउंसलिंग रैंक अच्छा है या काउंसलिंग का PCM परसेंटेज अच्छा है तो आप वही बता दीजिए।
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other doubts? Okay. So I'll just move
Sir,
on.
I can see some of the doubts in the chat box also.
Let me check, Ankur. Okay. There is a doubt August to April of next year. This means if we have guest faculties, those for 11 months will be counted under faculty category. Yes, it will be counted under faculty category. We have only 3 assistant professor as regular. Remaining 4-5 guest faculties are almost keep changing in every session. Sir, that is not a very sound situation actually. Correct. You have more number of guest faculties than regular faculties. I think there is a need for you to look at it very seriously, right? Maybe we can take this question offline. I can answer this on a one-to-one basis because it's a very, very specific question pertaining to your department, right? So we can take it up. Let us not take it in the mass group. There is a question from Professor Dhirendra Kumar. If a faculty teaching in one semester a department and in next semester the same faculty teaching in other department, can we show half utilization for SFR? No, there is nothing called as half utilization of SFR. That is one point. Second point is I am unable to understand how a faculty can teach in one department and go to another department in next semester. Can you give me an example? Correct. So if a faculty has joined in electronics department based on his qualification and he has got the appointment letter for electronics department, then he will be in electronics department only. And suppose if he...
Sir, he might be talking about some of the common subjects. For example, if there is I will take an example to elaborate this. If suppose there is a subject called RER, Renewable Energy Resources, right? And if the same subject is run by the electronics department also, civil department also, sometimes it happens that a faculty from EC department migrate to civil department and teach that subject.
Yeah. Now see what happens
in that case.
Now if it is a first year subject, right? You need to first identify the basic board of studies for that subject. And you need to exclusively dedicate some faculties for that subject, right? Now say for example, what happens in the first year, we have the C programming common for all the branches. So whatever the X number of faculties are there in computer science department, 2 to 3 faculties will not be considered for student faculty ratio of computer science department because they will be considered as faculties for first year. So like that, you have to take care of your faculties who are handling first year classes.
Got it, sir.
Any other doubts?
No, sir.
Yeah, there's a doubt. In our college, second batch of mechanical engineering will pass out this year. Can we apply for NBA accreditation? Yes, sir. You can very well apply, Professor Vikrant Mishra. Please go ahead and apply for NBA accreditation if you are confident enough. And please get back to me if you need any sort of help. But let me tell you, you are eligible to go for NBA. Suppose a faculty teaching strength of materials in odd semester and in even semester he is transferred to ASH department. Basically his qualification is from mechanical engineering. So he will be shown as a faculty in ME department, and if he is handling the subject in first year, that is in even semester, if he is going to the first year, then he will be considered as a faculty of ASH department for the calculation purpose. As I told you that 2 to 3 faculties will always you should exclude because they will be considered as first year faculties. So this question of yours is also for the is also related to the same situation. There is one question earlier which says that the appointment director is from civil. Do we qualify for the criteria? I mean, which criteria, you will definitely qualify. The qualification or the branch of the director has got nothing to do with MBA. Correct. Whoever the director of your college, he will be belonging to one or the other branch. So whether he is from civil, mechanical, that does not matter. Correct. One thing. Second thing is the director is also considered as a professor of one of the department. Yeah, that's what Dr. Anupam Singh says. Can we include director of institute as a professor in concerned department? Very well, you can include. Yeah, any other doubts?
गुड आफ्टरनून सर नमस्कार।
Yeah, good afternoon,
सर
please.
एक डाउट मेरा जो ये है कि जैसे आपने अभी बताया कि जो ओपन सब्जेक्ट्स हैं उनके लिए आप एक दो फैकल्टीज को या फिर जो फर्स्ट ईयर की फैकल्टी समझ के एक्सक्लूड कर सकते हैं फ्रॉम द डिपार्टमेंट, तो सर क्या वेटेज मिलता है कि रेगुलर फैकल्टीज जो हैं डिपार्टमेंट की या फिर जो कोर ब्रांचेस के फैकल्टीज हैं उनको फर्स्ट ईयर ओपन सब्जेक्ट पढ़ाने चाहिए? क्या उनको बेसिकली मोर ऑफ द सब्जेक्ट जो उनके होने चाहिए वो कोर में ही उनको पढ़ाने चाहिए? इसका भी कुछ वेटेज रहता है क्या?
नहीं सर, ऐसा कुछ वेटेज तो रहता नहीं है एक्सक्लूसिवली। आपके देखिए होता क्या है कि आपके डिपार्टमेंट से आपको 2 या 3 फैकल्टीज को भेजना जरूरी है ना पढ़ाने के लिए फर्स्ट ईयर।
जी
हाँ, तो फर्स्ट ईयर पढ़ाने के लिए आपको फैकल्टीज भेजना है, तो आप किसी को भी भेजिए, द एनबीए कमेटी को तो कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता है, उनको सिर्फ नंबर से फर्क पड़ता है।
जी
तो
सर।
जो फैकल्टीज आप वहां भेज रहे हैं उनको वो यहाँ पर काउंट नहीं करेंगे, फिर वो चाहे आप असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसर
Okay.
भेजो, एसोसिएट भेजो, कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता है।
सर एक वन क्वेश्चन मोर सर।
प्लीज प्लीज।
सर अगर किसी डिपार्टमेंट का एक्रेडिटेशन के लिए अप्लाई किया है और उस डिपार्टमेंट में उस इंस्टीट्यूट के डायरेक्टर ऑड इवेंट सेमेस्टर फुल सब्जेक्ट का लोड ले रहे हैं, तो वो एज ए कंप्लीट फैकल्टी उसमें काउंट होंगे कि नहीं काउंट होंगे?
नहीं, हो जाएगा काउंट, क्योंकि जो आप लोड लेते हैं ना सर, वो एआईसीटी के हिसाब से ही लेते हैं आप। करेक्ट। से फॉर एग्जांपल डायरेक्टर ऑफ द इंस्टीट्यूट, जहाँ तक मेरा नॉलेज है, ही विल नॉट हैव वर्कलोड ऑफ मोर देन 4 आवर्स टीचिंग पर वीक, क्योंकि उनका पूरा टाइम तो एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन में चले जाता है। करेक्ट। सो डेफिनेटली द डायरेक्टर विल बी कंसिडर्ड एज अ फुल टाइम फैकल्टी ऑफ दैट पर्टिकुलर डिपार्टमेंट।
Okay, it means all the credentials of the director will use in the NBA.
नहीं, फिर से पूछिए।
All the credentials of the director will be used in the NBA in all criteria of the faculty.
Absolutely. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, welcome, sir. Any other doubts, please? All right, Ankur, if we don't have doubts, then I will move on to my last point, which will take 3-4 minutes, right?
Sure, sir.
Okay. I will shift my Word file. Just give me 2-3 seconds.
Sure.
All right. Can you see my slide now, which actually says head of the department presentation?
Yeah.
Sir.
Okay, fine. So let me move to my last point of the session. I'm sorry, we are a little bit ahead of the time. So this is what is. Now, this is my suggestion to all the esteemed faculty members who are attending this FDP, how to start your MBA work, correct? I still, reiterate my statement. Please do not start your MBA work after filling your pre-qualifier and self-assessment report. You will definitely not get it. I'm not demotivating. You will definitely not get it because it is not so easy. One thing. Second thing is, after filling the SAR, do not give the dates that, 5 set of dates after 1 year. That is also not entertained. Basically, you should give the dates within 2 to 3 months after you fill your SAR. And you cannot do the work of NBA in 2 to 3 months. It is not possible. That's all. It is not possible. Forget about difficulty. It is just not possible. So I stick on to my point and I say that first start working towards NBA. And when you are 75 to 80% comfortable enough, you are confident enough, then you fill your pre-qualifier, you fill your SAR and you submit it. The remaining 10-15% work, you can do it, after filling the SAR and before the committee comes. So there is a saying in English which says that well begun is half done. So first and the foremost thing is, I have just framed some 6 to 7 points, right? So the first thing is identify the program coordinator in your department. The program coordinator should be the senior member of the department who is well versed with NBA stuffs. He is one person of your department who is in a position to answer any question related to NBA. अगर डिपार्टमेंट में कोई भी फैकल्टी को कोई भी क्राइटेरिया में कोई भी दिक्कत हो, he should approach only program coordinator. The program coordinator should be very, very knowledgeable enough as far as NBA is concerned. And then you know that NBA has got 10 criterias, and out of which 7 criterias are from the department side. So you identify one coordinator for each of the department criteria, NBA criterias. So when you have 7 criterias, you will have 7 faculty members acting as coordinators for each of these criterias. And then once you have identified the criteria coordinators, then you associate some of the faculty members for each of these criterias. Maybe you can have 2 to 3 faculty members associated with each criteria, so that along with the criteria coordinator, they will work for the upliftment of that particular criteria. So ऐसा तो कोई hard bound rule नहीं है कि हर एक क्राइटेरिया में 2-3 फैकल्टी मेंबर रहना चाहिए, करेक्ट? अब जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल क्राइटेरिया 2 बहुत ज्यादा वर्क है, राइट? सो देयर यू कैन हैव 1 or 2 more faculty members, and in criteria 1 not many faculties are required, so you can just have 2 faculty members for criteria 1, and similarly for criteria 7 also. My personal opinion is 2 faculty members are more than sufficient. Now at the same time, as head of the department and program coordinator, you should also keep in mind you need to form some committees which are required. The first one is program assessment committee, which will consist of head of the department, the program coordinator, and 2-3 senior professors of that particular program assessment committee, right? And apart from that, you should also have department advisory committee, which will consist of people within the department and people outside the department. Now, who are those people outside the department? You should have 1 or 2 academic experts from outside. The academic experts can be experts outside your college and within your state, right? Definitely not from your college. Please understand, because already from your college, you have these 2-3 senior professors. So this head of the department, program coordinator, and 2-3 senior professors, they are already from internal. So you should have 1 or 2 academic experts, preferably from good institutes, preferably outside your college, and if possible, I mean, I'm not telling it is mandatory, if you also have somebody from outside your state, then it makes more, weightage to your department advisory committee. And then you should have 1 or 2 experts from industries and 1 or 2 alumni who have passed out from your program. So basically, we can mail you the responsibilities of the program assessment committee and department advisory committee, right? That I'm not touching upon here, but yes, initially you should go for the formation of these committees. And just to give you a glimpse about this, the program assessment committee should meet every semester to take a stock of what is happening in the department. And then the department advisory committee should meet once in a year, and they should approve the proceedings of the program assessment committee. So in front of the department advisory committee, it is either the program coordinator or head of the department who is presenting what has happened during past 1 academic year in their particular department, and department advisory board will ratify and approve whatever has been placed in front of the committee members. And apart from that, formation of various committees at department and institute level as it is required, right? So there might be R&D committee, which will take care of research and development. There is a sports committee, there's a cultural committee, there's a hostel committee. All these type of things have to fall in place. And once you have all this, my sincere suggestion and appeal to all the faculty members of this FDP, train all faculty members with respect to NBA. Please understand, one step towards NBA is you have attended this FDP, and FDP This FDP, which was well organized by Buddha Institute of Technology and well supported by all of you, will get over in next couple of hours. But then from here, where are we going? Right? So merely attending FDP और सवेरे से शाम तक सुन लिया और रात में भूल गए, चलो भैया कल से मंडे है अपना काम करते रहो, then there's no point in doing FDP. And if we are doing FDP only for the certificate point of view, then I'm extremely sorry, it is of no use, right? You have to work on this practically. Right? Any amount of theoretical information is not sufficient for you unless and until you work practically on this. I have been working in NBA from 2015 onwards. I have spent almost more than 6 years working, and I have faced 3 committees so far for NBA, and I have got accredited 12 programs in the past 6 years. So you need to train all the faculty members with respect to NBA, its criteria, and how to go about having documents in place. Very, very important is not knowing the criteria of NBA, but how to justify the criteria with respect to proper documentation, because it is the proper documentation only which will fetch you marks. And let me tell you, if your performance leads to 590 points out of 600, believe me, you will not get NBA. You will definitely not get NBA. 590 out of 600. How much bad we will feel. कितना बुरा लगता है कि यार जब हमने 590 पॉइंट्स लिया है और हमें एनबीए सिर्फ 10 पॉइंट से नहीं मिल रहा है. We will definitely feel bad. I will definitely feel bad. Let me tell you very honestly. Let me accept it also. And even you will not fall in the borderline case, which I had told earlier. See, borderline case means your score should be 595, 596 at least. That is called as borderline cases. So if it is 596 or 597, you fall in borderline case, and the moderation committee will discuss it in NBA office. And then there are chances, after getting some clarifications from your department and institute, you might get 600. But to be eligible for borderline cases, to be eligible for such type of discussion, you should fall in borderline case. And believe me, 590 is not borderline case, right? So proper justification, proper data, proper documentation is very, very important. So please try to take advantage of the FDPs. Try to move forward from what you have understood from this FDP. And as a colleague of yours, because I'm also a professor of a particular department in one of the college which is affiliated to AICTE in India, right? For any queries or help, you can reach me. This is my mobile number. This is my WhatsApp number. And alternatively, you can also mail me to my email ID. Thank you very much for your patience listening. And it was my pleasure to address all of you. Thank you very much. You have any doubts, please be ready to answer your questions.
Thank you, sir, for this informative session. And I will request you to join the valedictory session also, sir, please.
Definitely, Ankur. It's my pleasure to be a part of your valedictory, and I look forward for that.
Okay. And one information for all the participants, you have to join this next session at 11:30 a.m. I have shared the link through the mail ID. And one information is that it's very important. Please give attention to this information, that your test will be, the link will be provided at 1:10 a.m. and you will have sufficient time to submit that particular test. And the final feedback will be, shared in this validatory session. So you have to very attentively join all the session and perform all the tasks. And the certificates will be issued to you after 3 to 4 working days. In coming 3 to 4 working days. When you will meet the criteria, you will get the certificate. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, all of you. And please stay safe and take care of yourself. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Now we'll join at 11:30.